Well, Ellie, when people bought these flats, they spent a lot of money to be in this location by the coast. But following the Grenfell Tower tragedy, what emerged was that there were multiple fire safety issues in multiple buildings here at Portishead Marina. And what that's led to is people effectively trapped in their homes, unable to sell, some paying thousands of pounds in service charges for waking watches in case a fire breaks out. And that's not even answering the biggest question of all, which is who will pay for all this remedial work to make these buildings safe. Developers sold this as a location which had it all. But following the Grenfell Tower tragedy, the true extent of the country's fire safety crisis has been exposed. And here there have been multiple failings.
You invest in what you think is a reputable builder, buy your property from them, it's a lot of money, and then all of a sudden your world just comes crashing down.
Rianne bought her flat at 94 on the estuary off plan 7 years ago. But following a series of internal inspections, she was told her home could be at risk of spreading fire. In a fire safety report published in July, it highlighted the absence of correctly installed cavity barriers. In other words, fire safety measures fitted between walls, combustible timber decking on the balconies, which should be replaced, and combustible materials used in the external wall, which is also recommended for removal. It's estimated to fix all this could cost tens of thousands of pounds per flat.
I've been signed off work twice in 6 months just because of the stress it's causing. I just haven't got the money to pay these bills. And I worry that I'm going to lose my home. And, you know, what happens to myself and my daughter if we haven't got a home? I lose my job. I just feel at the moment that I'd lose everything, and I feel completely trapped because I'm not able to sell the place. I just can't get out. There's no way out.
To make matters worse, residents like Rianne are already paying up. The service charge for the flats has quadrupled this year to pay for fire safety wardens to patrol the building 24 hours a day. The management company says it has successfully applied for a government fund for an enhanced fire alarm system, which should remove the need for patrols once it's installed. Gary owns 6 flats on the site. He tells me it's hard to comprehend what's happening.
I feel it's some form of a dystopian nightmare. You got COVID, and this sort of started to come to a head back in the autumn, and it's just got worse and worse and worse as it's gone on. And it's hard to try and work out what's happening to us. We're being attacked with waking watch costs. We've got threatening to close the car park, and we've been told not to store anything on the balconies.
Gary says the faults are leaving people trapped and unable to sell. Across Portishead, there are at least 6 sites constructed by a variety of developers experiencing similar fire safety issues, but it's believed there will be more as inspections continue. It's a problem which has impacted the entire region, with affected buildings in Swindon, Cheltenham, Bristol, Wells, and the list goes on and on. I get in touch with Ritu from the UK Cladding Action Group to find out who she thinks should be paying for all this work.
We definitely believe that the stakeholders that caused this problem should be the ones paying for it. And they are the developers that built these dangerous buildings without any fire safety barriers, without adequate internal compartmentation, with dangerous cladding. We believe also that building control has a very important role, because lots of building control authorities signed off these dangerous blocks as safe without doing due diligence.
The question about who should pay is not straightforward. Following Ritu's advice, I got in touch with the warranty provider here at 94 on the estuary, the National House Building Council. In a statement, they say they have accepted claims in relation to the faulty cavity barriers, and they add they are considering all claims made here at Portishead Marina by properties who have a policy with them. The developer Crest Nicholson said it will pay for workmanship defects, and in a statement added changes will be required to balconies as a result of government guidance issued since 2019. This is not a Crest Nicholson responsibility, as the new guidance postdates construction of the building. The developer also said the external walls do not need to be changed because they continue to be compliant with building regulations. But that's despite the previous fire safety report recommending they should be replaced. Confused, so are the leaseholders.
I feel like I'm living in a matchstick box. It only takes someone to forget to blow out a candle and, the whole place could go up in seconds. It doesn't take long for a fire to spread.
Homeowners say they simply don't know where to turn to for help and fear a large part of the costs will be passed on to them. The uncertainty about what happens next is already beginning to take its toll. Now here is another complication. The government has made available more than £5 billion to pay for the removal of unsafe cladding, but that only applies to buildings over 18 metres. And as you've probably guessed it, here in Portishead, there are other buildings which have found to have fire safety issues which don't quite meet that 18 metres. So instead, they qualify for a loan. And the government said that will be capped at £50 per flat per leaseholder. Now, I've also been speaking to the North Somerset MP Liam Fox, who says he's looking to get a government delegation down to Portishead to find out exactly what's going on here.
We've got examples of buildings above the required height, below the required height, different types of cladding. Having spent a lot of time with residents there are clearly things that can be done at very little cost that will reduce the anxiety and the risk to residents there. I spoke to the Secretary of State this morning about that, and I'm very keen for him to come down, as well as officials, to talk to residents there who've got a very good idea of what could be done within the very large envelope of money, more than £5 billion that the government have set aside for that.
The big unknown is just how long it's going to take to complete all this. Some say it could be months, others say this could go on for years. And meanwhile, you've got residents continuing to pay high bills for the likes of waking watch costs. Meanwhile, it's still not clear who will end up paying for all this remedial work.